It's a chilly evening in the city, the kind of night where the streets seem a little emptier and the world feels a bit more detached. Most people are at home, wrapped in the comfort of their lives, while others, like the woman you're about to meet, are still out there, fighting for every scrap they can find. As the world spins on, little do they know, a moment is unfolding that will change someone's life forever. Picture this: a sleek, luxurious mansion nestled in the heart of the city where everything is polished, pristine, and seemingly perfect. The kind of place you'd only dream about, where a millionaire sits behind a desk, surrounded by the finest things money can buy. Life's problems are just fleeting thoughts to him. But tonight, things are different. In a moment of frustration, he grabs a box, a small, nondescript one, seemingly insignificant, but filled with something much more valuable than he realizes. Without a second thought, he walks to the trash can outside, discards the box, and walks away. What he doesn't know is that this one careless action will set a chain of events in motion, a series of moments that will forever alter the lives of two very different people. The woman, a homeless soul wandering through the night, is looking for anything she can find. She knows the city better than anyone. It's her home, her survival ground. For her, every day is a battle, an unrelenting fight for a place to sleep, food to eat, anything to make life a little less difficult. She's used to scouring the trash, picking through the leftover remnants of other people's lives, but tonight, as she walks down the alley, she sees something different, something that doesn't belong. A box, thrown away carelessly like it meant nothing. Curiosity gets the best of her. She crouches down, eyes scanning the surroundings to make sure no one's watching, and opens the box. What she finds inside makes her heart race. It's not just trash, not just some forgotten item. No, this is something that could change everything for her. But the question is, should she keep it? What if it's more than she can handle? As she stares at the contents, her mind starts to whirl. Could this be her chance? A golden opportunity she's only dreamed of? Or is it a trap? The box holds secrets she's not sure she's ready to uncover. It's clear that whatever is inside has a story, a past, and someone who once cared enough to keep it safe. But why was it discarded like this? And what does it mean for her, a woman who has nothing, who's just trying to survive another day? But as she holds the box in her hands, the reality begins to sink in. She doesn't know who threw it away, doesn't know why, but one thing is certain. Her life is about to change in ways she can't even imagine. The man who discarded it, the millionaire who thought it meant nothing, will soon find out that what he lost isn't just some object, it's something far more valuable. And the woman who found it? Well, her discovery is only the beginning. Because the moment she opens this box, her world will never be the same again. Will she keep the treasure? Will she try to return it? Or will she find herself entangled in a web of mystery, danger, and choices that no one should have to make? Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. The homeless woman sat on the curb, clutching the box in her hands as though it might disappear if she let go. The city around her was alive with the usual hum of late-night activity, but to her, everything felt distant. She was somewhere else entirely, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of what she had just found. The box wasn't just an object. It felt like a doorway, something that could lead her into a life she never imagined. Inside, she had found a small, intricate necklace with a sparkling gemstone, the kind that could only be described as priceless. It shimmered in the moonlight, catching her breath. It wasn't just any necklace. It was something special. She could feel its weight, its history, pressing against her palm. But there was no way to know for sure how much it was worth, who it belonged to, or what it had been doing in that box, abandoned like everything else in her life. Minnie, She had lived on the streets long enough to know that things like this didn't just happen. People didn't throw away treasures unless they had a reason. And this reason, she realized, was exactly why she felt both drawn to the box and repelled by it. What if it was meant to be found? What if she was supposed to take it? Was this a sign, an opportunity for her to finally escape the life she had been dealt? But the fear crept in. She had always been taught to stay away from things that didn't belong to her. She wasn't sure if she could trust her instincts, but one thing was for certain: she was no stranger to hard choices. Every day on the streets, she made decisions that could either make or break her, and this was no different. But how could she possibly keep something so valuable without consequences? As the night dragged on, she walked, turned the box over in her hands, and thought about the millionaire. Who was he? What kind of person could throw something like this away without a second thought? Was it something he didn't want, or something he feared? She had no answers, but the more she thought about it, the more questions piled up. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, the millionaire was beginning to realize something was wrong. His life, despite the luxury, wasn't as perfect as it appeared. Behind the shiny surface, things were unraveling. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind of bad decisions, mounting debts and pressures he couldn't escape. The box, so simple, so unassuming, had been a part of his life for years, a keepsake of sorts, something he held on to for reasons he wasn't sure he could explain. But tonight, when the stress and frustration became too much, it had felt right to throw it away. Now, as he sat in his penthouse pacing back and forth, something gnawed at him. It was as if the box, now lost, was a symbol of everything slipping through his fingers. He hadn't even thought about its contents before discarding it. But as his mind began to piece things together, a cold realization swept over him. What if the woman who found it wasn't just any woman? What if she was the answer he needed? The necklace in that box wasn't just some trinket. It was a part of his family's legacy, a priceless artifact passed down through generations. It had been in his family since the early 1800s, a piece of history that tied him to the past in ways he couldn't fully grasp. He had always been told the story of it, how it was meant to stay within the family, a symbol of wealth and power. But tonight, in his moment of weakness, he had let it go. And now, it was lost. He immediately began to call around, trying to trace the box, trying to find out if anyone had seen it. But no one knew anything. He couldn't help but feel a sense of dread building in his chest. What if the woman kept it? What if she realized its value and tried to sell it? The thought of someone else benefiting from his family's legacy twisted his gut. Back on the street, the woman was beginning to make up her mind. She had walked around aimlessly, trying to figure out her next move. She couldn't keep the necklace, could she? The weight of it in her pocket felt like it was pulling her down. She had nothing, no real home. No steady income, no support. But could this necklace be the key to everything she ever wanted? Was it really hers to take, or had it been lost for a reason? The conflict inside her was growing. She wanted to believe it was fate. She wanted to think that maybe, just maybe, this was the break she needed. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, was looking for it. Someone who might be just as desperate to have it back as she was to keep it. The thought of what it could mean for her future terrified her, but the idea of giving it up felt even worse. As the tension built, the million-dollar question hung in the air. What would she do? Would she return the necklace to its rightful owner, or would she seize the opportunity for herself? And if she kept it, what kind of life would she be living? Was it worth the risk? The millionaire's search was intensifying. He was running, out of time and options, and the clock was ticking. Every moment that passed brought him closer to finding the woman who held the necklace. But would it be too late? As the night dragged on, both lives, so different yet inexplicably connected, were on a collision course, and nothing would ever be the same. Would the woman be able to keep the necklace, or would her conscience catch up with her? And would the millionaire finally realize the value of what he had lost before it was too late? Stay tuned. The next chapter is just around the corner, and everything is about to change. Minnie. The night seemed to stretch on forever. The homeless woman holding the necklace in her pocket could feel the weight of it pressing against her, but it wasn't just the physical weight. It was the weight of everything, the choices she had made, the life she was stuck in, and now the life she could have or lose with just one decision. The city was alive around her, but she felt disconnected from it all. It was as if the necklace had become her only connection to something beyond the endless struggle. She took a deep breath and made her way to a nearby park bench, sitting down and pulling the necklace out once more. She studied it, her fingers, tracing the delicate design of the gemstone, the gleam it gave off under the streetlights. She couldn't help but imagine what it could mean for her, how it could change her life. She could sell it. She could finally escape the streets, get off the corner where she'd begged for scraps. But a nagging voice inside her reminded her of something important. It wasn't hers. It never had been. Meanwhile, across the city, the millionaire was pacing restlessly in his penthouse. He had been searching for hours, making phone calls and driving through the night, but every lead seemed to take him nowhere. His thoughts were racing. What if the woman had already sold the necklace? What if she didn't know its value and it was lost forever? He couldn't shake the fear that everything he'd known, everything his family had worked for, was slipping through his fingers. It was then that his phone rang. He picked it up immediately, his heart racing. "Mr. Carrington?" A voice on the other end said. "We think we might know where the necklace is." A mix of hope and dread washed over him. "Where? Who has it?" The voice paused, then spoke again, quieter this time. "A homeless woman found it. She's not selling it, but she's been spotted around the city." The millionaire's heart sank. He didn't know what to feel. Relief that it hadn't been sold, or frustration that it was now in the hands of someone who probably had no idea what she had. He knew he had to find her. He couldn't let the necklace fall into the wrong hands. Back at the park, the woman was lost in thought when she heard the sound of footsteps approaching. She tensed, instinctively clutching the necklace tighter. She had been prepared for this moment, but she wasn't sure what she was going to do. The man who had been looking for the necklace, the one who owned it, was here. She didn't know how, but she could feel it. A figure appeared from the shadows. A tall man, dressed in a sharp suit, his face tense with purpose. It was the millionaire. He stopped a few feet away, staring at her with an intensity that made her stomach tighten. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was as if they were sizing each other up. Finally, the man spoke, his voice low but urgent. "You have something that belongs to me." The woman's heart raced. She had been expecting this, but now that it was happening, she wasn't sure what to say. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the necklace, holding it out toward him. "This belongs to you," she said quietly. I didn't know what it was at first, but I couldn't keep it, not knowing what it meant. He stared at her, his gaze softening just slightly as he took the necklace from her hand. He turned it over in his fingers, his expression unreadable. "You could have kept it," he said after a long pause. "You could have sold it. I would have never known." She shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I couldn't. I knew it wasn't mine. I knew it was worth something, but I couldn't just take it." There was silence between them, a heavy silence that felt like the end of something. Something big. Something that would change both of their lives. The millionaire stood there looking at her, and for the first time, He saw her. Not as a stranger, not as someone he had to reclaim something from, but as a person. "I don't know why you didn't keep it," he said quietly, "but I'm grateful you didn't." The woman glanced at him, confused. Grateful? For what? He looked at her, his eyes searching. For returning it. For showing me something I hadn't seen in a long time. There was a time when my family valued more than just money and power. We valued honesty. And you, for some reason, have reminded me of that. She shook her head slightly, unsure of what he meant. But there was something in his voice, something that hinted at a deeper truth. Maybe it wasn't just about the necklace, after all. Maybe it was about the kind of person he had become, and the kind of person he could still choose to be. He looked at the necklace one last time before tucking it into his pocket. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. The woman watched him go, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her. As the night grew quieter, she felt something inside her shift. It wasn't about the necklace. It wasn't about the riches it could have brought her. It was about something deeper, something more valuable. She had made the right choice, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. And as for the millionaire, he walked back into the city, the weight of the past on his shoulders, but a glimmer of something else, something more meaningful, starting to break through. He couldn't change the past, but he could decide who he wanted to be in the future. And in the end, both of them had learned that the true treasures in life weren't found in riches or status, but in the choices we make and in the way we treat each other along the way. The city kept moving, people kept living, and two very different lives were forever changed by one small discarded box.